Colleges are noisy places during the day, but at night, the silence becomes unsettling. The halls feel too empty, the lights too dim, and every closed door looks like something is waiting behind it. That's the part no one tells you about. The real danger lives in the quiet corners, the abandoned classrooms, the locked labs, and the study rooms no one uses anymore. My story begins in one of those rooms. The first night I stayed late in the campus library, I heard someone crying inside study room 3B. Soft, broken, trying desperately not to be heard. I thought someone was hurt or stressed out from exams. But when I opened the door, the room was completely empty. And yet, a girl's voice whispered right behind my ear. "Why did you leave me here?" I spun around so fast I nearly fell. But there was no one. The air was freezing behind me, as if someone had just stepped away, and something cold slid across my shoulder, like fingertips. I wish I could tell you that was my imagination, but that was only the beginning. It all started a few hours earlier. Midterms were killing me, and I had a pile of notes that seemed to multiply every time I blinked. Dawson College Library stayed open until 3 a.m. during exam week. Nobody stayed that late except the students who were either failing or panicking. That night, I was both. My friend Marco gave up around 11 p.m. "Bro, I'm tapping out. I'm gonna pass out on the table," he said, stuffing his laptop into his backpack. "Go. I've still got at least 2 chapters left," I said. Before leaving, he stopped and pointed toward the back hallway. "Don't use 3B. "Why not? They say someone died in there. Just don't stay in that room alone." He didn't wait for my reaction. He just left. The walk to the study rooms felt colder with every step. The lights flickered at random, buzzing faintly like old insects trapped inside. The carpeted floor muffled every sound, making the hallway feel dead. 3B was at the far end. Its window blinds were shut tight. The table lamp inside flickered like a dying heartbeat. I pushed the door open and stepped inside. Empty. I set my books down, plugged in my charger, and started highlighting. After 15 or 20 minutes, the silence grew so heavy that I could hear my own breathing echo off the walls. Then I heard it, a quiet sniffle, then another, then soft crying, coming from the corner of the room. I froze. "Hello?" I whispered. The crying stopped immediately. I stood slowly, pushed the chair back, and checked the hallway. Empty. Silent. I turned left. Nothing. Right. Nothing. I took one step out of the room, and the crying started again. But this time it wasn't soft. It was a low, painful wail, like someone begging not to be left alone again, like someone who hadn't been heard in years. Came from inside 3B. Even though no one was in there, I stepped back inside, heart thudding, and the crying stopped instantly. Dead silence. Then, right behind me, a cold breath touched my neck. "You remembered me." I bolted for the hallway, leaving my notes, my charger, everything behind. That night, I discovered why no one stayed in 3B, and why the girl crying in that room was still waiting for someone who would never come back. Everyone at Westbridge College knew about Dorm 17. Not because it was old or ugly, but because it never stayed full. Every semester, students requested room changes within the first week. Not because of parties, not because of roommates, but because of things they couldn't explain. I didn't believe any of it, at least not until I moved in. My room was at the very end of the hallway, room 217. The RA who checked me in avoided eye contact the entire time. She handed me the key, then hesitated. "If anything weird happens, just ignore it," she whispered. "Weird like what?" I asked. She looked down at her shoes. "You'll see." I laughed it off. "College ghosts? Yeah, right." The first night was normal enough. I unpacked, played some music, browsed Instagram, and eventually fell asleep. But at 3:17 a.m., something woke me. Faint knocking. Not on my door, but inside my room. I shot up. The room was dark, the kind of suffocating dark that only old dorm buildings have. The knocking came again. Knock, 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 right behind the closet door. I grabbed my phone flashlight and walked toward it, every step heavier than the last. The knocking stopped when I reached the closet. My hand trembled as I touched the knob. Before I opened it, I heard breathing, slow, weak, like someone had been crying. A girl's voice whispered through the thin wooden door. "Are you finally awake?" I stumbled back so fast I hit my bed frame. My phone slipped from my hand and clattered on the floor, lighting the ceiling. The breathing stopped instantly. The room fell silent again. I waited. 5 minutes. 10. Nothing. Eventually, I worked up the nerve to open the closet. Empty. Only my shirts, backpack, and a single ceiling vent. I barely slept the rest of the night. The next morning, I went to the RA. She didn't look surprised at all. "What time did it happen?" she asked. "Like around 3. She inhaled sharply. "Yeah, that's her time." "Her who?" The RA rubbed her forehead like she was sick of explaining the same story over and over. "She was a freshman here years ago. She locked herself in her closet and never came out." A chill spread through my arms. "They say she still knocks when she realizes someone new is living in her old room." I stared at her, waiting for a punchline. She didn't laugh. That night, I didn't sleep at all. Not because of the knocking, but because of what I heard instead. Crying. Soft at first, then shaking, desperate. It filled the room like someone was sitting just inches away from my bed. I pulled the blanket over my head, trembling, listening to her breathe between sobs. "Please don't leave me alone again," she whispered. I lay frozen until morning. For 3 nights straight, the crying continued. Sometimes right in the middle of my room. Sometimes right outside the closet. Sometimes right behind me. Every night at 3:17 a.m. One night, I finally broke. "What do you want from me?" I shouted. The crying stopped. A soft whisper filled the room. "I want you to stay." Something touched my ankle from under the bed. Cold fingers brushing lightly across my skin. I jumped out of bed, flipped every light on, dragged my blankets and pillow into the hallway, and spent the rest of the night outside. When the RA found me sleeping on the floor in the morning, she didn't even ask what happened. She only said, "If she touched you, you need to move out. Now." And I did. When the college asked for a reason on the room transfer form, I wrote the only honest explanation. I was not the only one living in that room. Some buildings on a college campus feel alive, always buzzing with people, laughter, noise, and then there are buildings that feel like they're trying to stay forgotten. Hawthorne Hall was one of those buildings. It used to be the science department decades ago, but now it held only storage rooms, a few old classrooms, and a basement that most students didn't even know existed. The only reason I ever went down there was because Professor Alden assigned me to retrieve some archived lab equipment for a group project. "Take someone with you if you can," he told me. I laughed. "Is it that messy?" He didn't laugh back. "Just don't go alone," he insisted quietly. But everyone else in my group was busy, and I didn't want to waste time. So I went. It was late afternoon when I entered Hawthorne Hall. The air inside was colder than outside, like the building had been sealed away from sunlight for decades. Dust floated through the hallways. Every step echoed against the old tile floor. I reached the stairwell that led down to the basement. The light at the top flickered, humming faintly. When I pulled the door open, a wave of cold air pushed past me. Not regular basement cold. Something colder. The kind that feels like someone exhaling on the back of your neck. I swallowed hard and started down the steps. The deeper I went, the more wrong the building felt. Like the air was heavier, thicker. The basement lights weren't completely off, but barely alive, glowing a sickly, uneven yellow. I used my phone flashlight, sweeping the beam across old filing cabinets, broken desks, and cracked bulletin boards. At the far end of the hallway was room B12, the storage room I needed. The door was half open. I pushed it gently and stepped inside. Rows of shelves stood covered in white sheets. Some of the sheets were moving slightly in the draft, making them look like shapes shifting in the dark. I found the box I needed in the corner and crouched to lift it. That's when the light above me flickered, then went out completely. Everything went black. I froze, my phone flashlight still aimed at the floor. When I raised it slowly, the beam shook in my hand. Someone was standing in the doorway. A tall, thin silhouette, perfectly still. It looked like a person, but darker than the hallway behind it. No details, no face, no features. Just a shape. A shadow that wasn't supposed to exist. "Hello," I whispered, though every part of me knew I didn't want an answer. The shadow didn't move, didn't breathe, didn't sway. It just watched me. I took one step back. The shadow took one step forward. Not walking, sliding. My heart hammered against my ribs. I stumbled backward, knocking into a metal cart that screeched loudly. The sound echoed through the basement, but the shadow didn't flinch. Kept coming. Slowly, silently. I turned and ran, dropping the box, my bag, everything. My footsteps pounded through the hallway, my flashlight shaking wildly. I could hear something behind me. Not footsteps, something dragging. Soft, slow, close. When I reached the stairs, I practically threw myself up them. My lungs burned, but fear made me faster. The basement door slammed shut behind me, as if something pushed it. I didn't stop running until I reached the outside of the building. That's when I felt it. Presence behind me. I turned around. Nothing. No one. Just the old brick building and its dark windows staring back at me. The next day, I went to Professor Alden to tell him what happened. He didn't seem surprised. Instead, he asked quietly, "How tall was it?" I stared at him. "You believe me?" He sighed heavily and folded his hands together. "You're not the first student to see it," he said. "You might not be the last." He lowered his voice. "Years ago, a graduate student died down there. He was working late, alone. Some say he never left." I felt my stomach turn. "No one goes to the basement now unless they have to," he added. "And they never, ever go alone." I nodded slowly, my heartbeat still uneven. I didn't tell him the part that scared me most. When I ran up the stairs, I swear I felt cold fingers brush the back of my ankle, like something was close enough to grab me, and almost did. When I transferred to Northview College halfway through sophomore year, housing was a mess. Every dorm was full except one, Cedar Hall, the oldest building on campus. The RA apologized as she handed me the key. "Your roommate moved out last semester," she explained, "but her things are still there. She never came back for them." I frowned. "Why not?" The RA gave a tight smile that didn't match her eyes. "She withdrew unexpectedly." I should have asked more, but I was tired and just wanted to settle in. Room 3B was at the end of the hallway. The moment I stepped inside, the air felt different. Cold, stale, almost heavy. Half the room was decorated with photos, fairy lights, posters, a makeup mirror, pillows, but everything was coated in dust. Her bed was perfectly made, her desk untouched, her closet door closed. It looked like she'd planned to return, like she'd just stepped out for class. But she never did. My side of the room was empty, clean, plain. I unpacked, put on some music, and tried to ignore how strange the room felt. That night, I went to sleep around 11:30. At 2:19 a.m., I woke up to the sound of whispered crying. A girl's voice. At first, I thought it was coming from the hallway, but then I realized it was inside my room, right across from me. I lifted my head slowly. The other bed, the girl's bed, wasn't empty. Someone was sitting on it. A girl with long hair, shoulders shaking, her face buried in her hands as she sobbed silently. My throat closed. My mind raced. "Hello," I whispered. She froze instantly. The crying stopped. Her hands slid down from her face. She slowly turned her head toward me. I couldn't see her eyes in the dark, just the outline of her face. But I felt them. Cold, empty, wrong. And then she whispered, in a voice too soft and too broken to belong to anything living, "Why are you in my room?" My body locked. My breath hitched. Before I could respond, she stood up, slowly, stiffly, and walked toward the wall. But instead of stopping, she kept going. She walked straight into the wall and faded into it like smoke. I stayed frozen until sunrise. The next morning, I went straight to the RA. "I saw someone in my room last night," I said. "A girl." The RA's face drained of color. "Did she cry?" she asked. I nodded. "And did she say something?" "Yeah." She asked why I was in her room. The RA closed her eyes. "That's exactly what she said to the last girl who stayed there." I swallowed hard. "What happened to her?" I asked. She hesitated. "She didn't make it through the semester. She transferred. She refuses to talk about it." I felt a chill run down my spine. "What about the original roommate? The one who left her stuff?" The RA sighed. "She disappeared. The school never confirmed what happened to her. Her parents cleared out what mattered, but they refused to enter the dorm. They asked that her room be sealed." She looked at me with a seriousness that made my skin crawl. "She shows up when someone new moves in. She thinks you're replacing her." I didn't sleep that night. How could I? At 2:19 a.m., the exact same time as before, the room temperature dropped suddenly. My breath turned white. The closet door creaked open on its own. Inside, something moved. A soft thud. A girl's shoe falling over. A quiet sniffle. I squeezed my eyes shut, gripping my blanket. "Please don't come out," I whispered under my breath. But the crying started again. Closer, and closer, and closer. I opened my eyes a sliver, and saw her standing in the middle of the room. Not sobbing this time, just staring at me with a dull, empty expression. She tilted her head slowly, like a confused child. "Where is my bed?" she whispered. Her voice was wrong, like it echoed inside itself. I shook uncontrollably. "This is my room now," I managed to say. "You don't live here anymore." For a moment, she just stared. Then she smiled. A slow, unnatural smile that stretched too wide. "You'll leave," she said softly, "just like the others." Then she vanished again, drifting backward through the closet door as it closed by itself. I moved out the next morning. Cedar Hall still has room 3B listed as vacant. Students say the girl still cries every night, waiting for a roommate who will never return. Every college campus has that one building everyone avoids. For us, it was Dawson Hall, a concrete relic from the 1960s that smelled like mildew, cold metal, and the kind of silence that feels aware of you. The building was mostly abandoned, except for one thing: a single elective class held in the basement, only offered once a year. No professor photo, no course reviews, just a room number, B12. My advisor said I needed one more elective to graduate on time. Everything else was filled. The only open course was History of Behavioral Studies, Early Experiments. It sounded boring enough. I signed up. That was the biggest mistake of my senior year. The first class. The basement hallway was narrow, with flickering lights and dented lockers. Most were rusted shut. The air felt colder the deeper I walked. When I reached B12, I noticed the door looked newer than everything else around it. Reinforced, heavy, with a small window that was completely blacked out. Inside, about a dozen students sat silently at old-style wooden desks. No one talked. No one even looked at each other. A tall, thin man stood at the front, face pale, hair slicked back, hands resting motionless on the podium. He didn't smile. He said only one thing: "Sit." I took a seat in the back. He began a lecture immediately, no introduction, no syllabus, talking about unethical psychological studies from the early 1900s. But something was off. He didn't use notes, slides, or books. He spoke like he had watched those experiments himself. Like he wasn't teaching history, but remembering it. His eyes rarely blinked. When they did, they twitched unnaturally, like a glitch. Halfway through the lecture, a girl in the front row raised her hand. "Professor, will we get the syllabus today?" He turned his head toward her very slowly. "You don't need a syllabus," he said softly. "Everything you learn here stays here." The girl lowered her hand. Her face went pale. When class ended, everyone hurried out. No talking, no eye contact. I tried to look up the professor's name that night. Nothing. No faculty page. No department listing. No record of him ever working at Northview College. The next morning, the course disappeared from my online schedule completely. as if I'd never enrolled. Yet class was still happening. The second class. I didn't want to go back. But something about that basement pulled at my curiosity. Or maybe it was fear disguised as interest. When I returned, things felt worse. The hallway lights were dimmer, the air colder, the door to B12 slightly open like it had been waiting. Inside, the professor stood alone. Only 6 students showed up this time. When I sat down, he lifted his head and stared directly at me. "You came back," he said softly. My stomach tightened. He shouldn't have known I was new. He shouldn't have known anything about me. Today's lecture was about sensory deprivation experiments. The old ones illegal, cruel, designed to break the human mind. As he described what happened to the subjects, the lights began to flicker. The walls seemed to vibrate, like something heavy was moving behind them. Then the professor stopped speaking. He looked toward the door. "Not now," he whispered. The class froze. No one breathed. The doorknob turned on its own. Slowly, deliberately, in tiny clicks, back and forth, like someone was testing it, waiting for permission. The professor spoke again, louder this time. "I said not now." The doorknob stopped instantly. No one moved for the rest of class. When time was up, he dismissed us with only a single word. "Go." No goodbye, no homework, just go. The third class. Only 3 students showed up. The professor looked pleased. "Good," he said. "Only the ones who listen remain." He told us today's lesson would be demonstration-based. He pulled down a projector screen and played an old grainy video, black and white, of a small room with a metal chair in the center. Person sat in it, strapped down. The professor spoke over the video. In 1926, a group of researchers believed fear could be measured physically: weight, size, density. The person in the video began trembling. Something dark moved behind them, something human-shaped, but twisted, like its limbs were bending the wrong way. As it stepped toward the chair, the footage crackled violently. The professor paused the video. "This is the part most people refuse to watch," he said. Before I could look away, the projector flickered, and the figure in the video turned its head. Slowly, toward the camera, toward us. His face was blurred but aware, watching us. The professor whispered. They followed the researchers home afterward. Some said the hallways whispered. Some never slept again. Some vanished. The power shut off. Pitch black. Something shuffled at the front of the class. Breathing. Too close. Too real. When the lights came back on, the professor was standing inches from my desk, staring at me like he was trying to memorize my face. "You should not return," he whispered. "It likes you." I left the room and never looked back. Aftermath. The next day, I told campus administration about the course. They looked confused. "No class has been held in Dawson Hall since 2004, they said. The basement was sealed after an accident. I insisted they check. 2 officers escorted me down. When we reached the basement, my stomach dropped. The hallway was dark, covered in dust. Every locker rusted shut. Every door chained. Where B12 should have been, there was only a cement wall. "No door here," one officer said. "Hasn't been for years." But I knew what I saw. I knew what I entered. I knew what watched us from inside that room. I never found the other students again. Not on campus. Not online. Not anywhere. Sometimes I wonder if they were ever real at all. Or if I was supposed to be the next one, who didn't come back. There are stories every college hides. Incidents buried under paperwork, shut behind renovated buildings, whispered only during late-night dorm conversations. Mine wasn't a rumor. It wasn't a ghost story. It wasn't an urban legend. It was the night the campus tried to erase from memory. The night Dawson Hall woke up. 3 days after my last class in the basement, I received an email from an address that didn't exist. From b12-instructor@null.edu. Subject: last session. Time: 3 a.m. The email contained one sentence. "You missed your final. Come back tonight." I deleted it instantly, but the moment I did, My dorm lights flickered. Then a soft tapping began at my window, 8 floors up. I didn't check. I didn't move. I didn't breathe, because the tapping wasn't random. It was rhythmic, intentional, like someone tapping out syllables. 3 slow taps, pause, 3 more, like knocking on a classroom desk. By midnight, I was too shaken to stay alone. I left my dorm and walked across the quad. Everything felt wrong. The lamps flickered. Shadows stretched too far. The windows of Dawson Hall glowed faintly, though the building had been sealed off. And then my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Don't run. You're already marked." Followed by another. "Your seat is waiting." When I looked up, the lights in the basement windows blinked. Once, twice, 3 times. The same rhythm as the tapping on my window. I should have left campus. I should have called someone. I should have done anything other than what I did. But the air grew dizzying, heavy, almost pulling me forward. The closer I got, the colder it became. Frost crawled across the basement glass, forming letters. My initials. The door to Dawson Hall clicked open on its own. Inside, the building was silent enough to hear my heartbeat. The walls were sweating again. The smell of mold and metal filled the air, and every step echoed too long, like the hallway was stretching. I reached the stairwell. The chains that once sealed the basement door were broken on the floor. The door itself stood open. B12 had returned. The hallway below was exactly how I remembered it. Rusted lockers, flickering bulb, cold that seeped into the bone. But this time, I wasn't alone. A girl stood at the end of the hall, facing the wall. Her hair was long and tangled. Her clothes were the same ones she wore the last day I saw her in class. One of the missing students. I whispered her name. She didn't turn, didn't move, until she spoke in a soft, broken voice. "You shouldn't have come back. He needs someone new." Then she slowly raised her arm and pointed behind me. I turned. The professor stood inches away. His face was no longer human, stretched too long, skin pale as bone, eyes black and reflective, like deep water, a smile carved too wide, too calm. "You kept us waiting," he whispered. "It's time for your part of the experiment." The hallway lights snapped off. In the dark, something grabbed my wrist, ice-cold fingers digging into my skin. I fought, kicked, tried to pull away, but the grip tightened, dragging me toward the invisible door of B12. I could feel dozens of hands pulling from inside, desperate, hungry, begging for release. The professor's voice echoed. "Fear evolves, but only when observed." A bright flash filled the hall, and everything went silent. I woke up in the campus health center. They told me a security guard found me unconscious outside Dawson Hall's entrance. No basement, no open doors, no signs anyone had been inside for years. The guard insisted the chains were still intact. Campus administrators told me the same thing again. There is no basement access. There is no B12. There is no professor. They recommended counseling. They recommended rest. But they didn't check my wrist. Where the cold hand grabbed me was a perfect, dark bruise, in the shape of fingers. And every night since, at exactly 3 a.m., my phone receives the same email. "You missed your final. Please return." The message is always accompanied by the same words whispered somewhere in my room. "You finally came back. If you're still here, listening in the dark, hit subscribe, like, and share, because I'm bringing more real horror stories that colleges, hotels, hospitals, and entire towns never want you to hear. And if your phone buzzes at 3 a.m. tonight, don't open the message.